Hey there! Today I'm going to be talking all about my favorite spinning tools, from my e-spinner, Niddy, Noddy, Lazy Cait, and all the little things that make my spinning practice come to life. These are the tools that I use every day and absolutely love. Grab your craft of choice, settle in, and let's get started. I wanted to quickly talk about how I'm going to be organizing this video. I wanted to make sure that things were divided up into what I consider essentials and then things that are just also nice to have. So I have some chapters in this video and you can jump on ahead if you're only interested in one or the other. I also just wanted to give a quick caveat that these things are all just my personal opinions and preferences based on the things I've tried. Everyone's preferences are going to be a little bit different, and that's totally okay. And obviously I haven't tried every single tool or resource out there, so this is just what I know based on what I've tried. All of the things I'm going to be talking about today were either bought with my own money or are something that I maybe put on a wish list for my birthday or Christmas that may have been gifted to me by friends or family. So all the opinions I'm sharing today are just coming from me. As always, I know that everyone's budget and ability is different, and that's okay. So let's go ahead and get into spinning. I want to start with the essentials, the things that I could not live without. Up first is my e-spinner. This is the Dreaming Robots Electric Eel Wheel 6.1, or EEW 6.1. And this is how I spin all of my yarn. I decided to invest in one of these because I was just getting into spinning. I didn't feel prepared to invest tons of money into something I wasn't sure I was going to love, but I also wanted a tool that could grow with me for a long time if I decided it was something I liked. So I knew that I could probably get in at a cheaper price using a drop spindle or a support spindle, but I decided I wanted something more like a traditional wheel. But I also didn't necessarily want to spend the amount of money that a traditional wooden wheel costs. And so I found the EEW, and it has been a great choice for me personally. I can spin sweater quantities of fiber on this really easily and quickly, and it was also just a more accessible price point for me personally. At the time of recording this, this is available for sale for I think $299, so that was something that I could handle, and I knew that if I absolutely hated it, I could probably resell it for very close to that price as well. But this has been a really great purchase for me. Dreaming Robots also has a smaller version of an e-spinner called the Nano, and that one I think is just over $100. Personally, I decided to go with the 6.1 because, like I said, I wanted something that would grow with me and kind of do everything I wanted it to do, and this absolutely can. The Nano has a much smaller bobbin, a smaller motor, it's a little bit slower, things like that. This is a little bit more beefy, and has just served me really well. There is a spot in the bottom here for a battery. You can see my lights are on. You have to buy the battery separately, but he gives you like the recommendation of the one to buy that fits perfectly in here. And so I can spin on the go. I don't need to be next to an outlet if I don't want to. And that has worked really great. And also this version has a pedal, a foot pedal, to stop and start the e-spinner, which especially when I was beginning, that was so important. If I had to like let go on one hand to hit the power on the side here, I think that would have been really difficult. Honestly, it still would be difficult. The pedal is just like a game changer. So that was another reason why I decided to do the 6.1. It also, like I said, has a larger capacity bobbin. It can go a bit faster. I have done several sweater spins and many single skein spins on this, and it has just kept up with me throughout the entire process. So I absolutely love my e-spinner from Dreaming Robots. Another pro is that Maurice, the owner of Dreaming Robots, has made all the 3D print files open source and accessible for anyone. So if you have a 3D printer, or if you're like me, have a partner who has a 3D printer and really likes using it, I can have my husband print anything from this, from the actual like base of the spinner to extra bobbins if I want some. He can print a lazy Cait. It's just really cool and really awesome that those things are accessible. So if anything breaks on this and I need a new part, like I don't have to purchase that from him, which is awesome. I realize I'm kind of in a unique situation with the 3D printer, but it's really nice that if something breaks on this, my husband can just reprint me the part and it's not that big of a deal. I'm getting to a point where I actually would really love to add a traditional spinning wheel to my collection, but that's not because of any shortcoming or drawback in this e-spinner. It's just been a really great tool. And it was at a semi-affordable price point, cheaper than a traditional spinning wheel for sure. So if you're looking to kind of upgrade to something a little bit more than a drop spindle, this is a really great option, and I've really enjoyed mine. Fiber is probably the most important thing to talk about when you're talking about spinning, but because that is such a broad topic like yarn, I'm not going to cover it in today's video. If that's something you're interested in hearing more of from me, definitely let me know. Next up in spinning essentials, I want to talk about my Niddy Noddy. This is a Kromski Niddy Noddy, and I believe it's the large size. It's the 72-inch circumference one. And this is just kind of a really important tool to wind up the yarn from your bobbin into a skein form. And I really love this version because it's truly just like a very beautiful object, but it also comes apart. So it's really easy to store if I'm not using it and just like have it nice and tucked away. So really no complaints about the Kromski Niddy Noddy. In my research of traditional spinning wheels, I've actually been most drawn to Kromski. I think they have a few spinning wheels that would serve my needs well, but also they're just absolutely beautiful. I think all their products are, and this Niddy Noddy really is no exception. It's just really well made and has a lovely color and shape to it. Then the last thing that I would consider a knitting essential is a lazy Cait. There are some ways that you can kind of jerry-rig your own lazy Cait. You don't necessarily need to buy one, but having something that functions as a lazy Cait is very important. I went ahead and bought the Dreaming Robots lazy Cait when I bought my e-spinner, and it's been a really great option. It's all 3D printed, but these kind of come apart. So depending on if you're doing a 2-ply or a 3-ply, you can really easily kind of snap them together, and they're magnetic, and so they don't want to come apart. And it's just like a nice little tool, but you stick your bobbins over the top of these and then use these little elastic cords to set tension. And this allows you to ply your yarn really easily. And it just kind of spins freely. I ultimately bought this lazy Cait because I was getting the Dreaming Robots e-spinner. But it is really nice that it is also fully collapsible. You can twist out these rods so that it just stores nice and flat, and is really nice when you have a smaller crafting space like I do. Everything else I'm going to be talking about for spinning today is just something I consider to be a nice to have. First up is baskets. I don't think the actual brand or size of the basket is particularly important. I think a lot of it is personal preference. But I use these two different baskets very, very frequently for my spinning. This first one here, the larger one, holds all of the fiber that I'm going to spin next. It can hold one braid of fiber really nicely. And this is just typically on the table next to me as I'm spinning at all times. And then this basket is used a little less frequently. It's more of a niche use, but I pair it with my scale. It's like the perfect size to fit on top of my scale. I can tare to set the weight to 0 and then either weigh fiber or finished skeins in this basket and get like a nice accurate weight. Yeah, it's just like a nice little basket to have on hand. I did not get it for that purpose, but it works really well for it. Like I said, I don't think the brand of basket or the type of basket particularly matters. It's just kind of personal taste and preference. I would recommend finding something that you think is beautiful and fits with the style of your craft space. If you're interested, both of these are Longaberger brand. My mother and grandmother were very into Longaberger back in the day, and so I have quite a few of these baskets lying around. But you can also find these baskets, I feel like, on Facebook Marketplace and thrift stores like that. If you're curious, it's just a cool style of basket, and they work really great for crafting. The last thing I want to talk about in my spinning is quickly show you how I do my reference cards. These are just little cards that I cut out of basic white cardstock. I actually cut a bunch of them when I did them, so I have a whole stack ready for me. But they are just little white cards with little slits cut in the sides so that I can wrap my singles and my plied yarn for reference as I'm spinning. I don't keep very much tension on these yarns at all so that it's like a nice accurate depiction of things. But up top, I track the brand I got the fiber from, the content and color name, and then also like the kind of yarn that I am trying to make. In this case, it's a 2-ply DK. But yeah, I have cards for every yarn I've ever spun, so that if I ever want to replicate, if I say, oh, I want to do a skein like I did a year ago with that fiber, it's really easy to pull out their reference card and see how I did it and the width I did it. So it's just really easy to kind of do again. I definitely could get a bit more technical on these cards and document things like degree of twist and grist and all of that stuff. But if I'm being honest, I don't really use those things all that often. I think my spinning is just like a little bit more intuitive and it wants to do what it wants to do. And it's just kind of like my fun, chill hobby. So I don't typically use stats like that, but I have documented before and I technically have room for them on these cards if I wanted to. I have a whole stack of these ready to go when I need them, and because of the size and they're all uniform and stuff, it's really easy to store these all together. There is kind of like a thick point there, but if I flip every other one upside down, then they store really flat and easy. But these are just a really great tool to have on hand. Nice to be able to reference things I'm doing and have done in the past. Highly recommend doing something similar for yourself. I hope you found this video helpful. Like I said, everyone's tastes and preferences and budgets are a little bit different. This is just my personal experience, and if it helps you out, great. I'll include some links to the more specific items, the larger items and things like that, so it's really easy for you to find. You can always come over and say hi to me on Instagram or Ravelry. My username is Cait Casts On in both of those locations, and I will leave those linked in the description below. Thanks so much for sitting down and joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.